Hey guys, welcome back to The Generalist. Thank you so much for listening. Wanted to make a couple of apologies from the get-go. First of all, I'm sorry that I released a couple of days late. It was an insane week, but we got the podcast out, so apologies for that delay. Secondly, there's a couple of toughs. There's a couple of times where I clear my throat, cough away from the mic, but still cough. I had a cold when we were recording, so I apologize for that. It's not a lot. I took out most of the ones that were in between. It was just if it happened while somebody else was talking, while the guest was talking, then it was harder to take out. But otherwise, enjoy the episode. We talked about Bitcoin. We went on for like 20 minutes at the beginning of the episode about Comicon. If you want to skip that whole part, you can just jump to minute, I think, 17, around then. Actually, it won't be 17. It should be around 20, given this intro. But something like that, and you should get straight into the Bitcoin. We went out, we came back, you get the idea. Stay tuned at the end for, all the end business. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Welcome to The Generalist, a show with a man who knows very little bit about a lot. A man who specializes in nothing in particular. A man who knows that he knows nothing. A man who can be described as non-specific. And to top it off, he narrates his own intros. This is The Generalist with your host, Saul Ackerman. Perfect, I love it. I'm gonna have to take a picture of you and put it as the cover of the episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I don't know, will I get sued by DC because you're wearing a Batman shirt?
Well, if anything, it'd be the other way around. Marvel would be the one to sue you. I got a little.
Marvel?
Yeah. So, story behind that.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Basically, I was in Comicon today, and I don't know if you know, they have panels where you could speak to you could like ask them questions.
I mean, I've never been, but I've seen
You've seen?
videos of it.
And
yeah.
there's also, like, next to the panels, after they get off, sometimes some of them stay around for autographing and for taking selfies now. They call them not even pictures. Taking selfies with the cast or whoever wants to stick around.
Yeah.
Thing is, you gotta wait online for, like, at least an hour, depending on the...
Just to ask some questions and stuff?
No, the questions is, like, what you might have seen in videos where they all line up.
So what are you waiting to get into the panel?
No, well, yes, some people, but that's a different story. Basically, outside of the panel, the actors that want to stick around for other people to wait in line for them to get an individual picture with them and for them to sign.
Oh, is that where all those awkward-ass pictures come from?
Yeah.
The ones with the weird cloudy background and there's
like
really awkward people?
Yep, exactly.
So you're one of them?
So that's... I go to Comic-Con because I'm an actual comic nerd and, actually... Not that the people that don't
I would
go,
venture to guess that those people are too.
But no, because for example, my friend I went with Thursday and Friday, he went solely to just watch the panels and get his stuff signed. He didn't care to walk the Javits Center floor to see what's new and what's coming out. I see, that makes sense. I'm not even on to what's new and what's coming out, even just nostalgia stuff like, wow, they have an in-box Power Ranger toy that I used to play with in the bathtub, and they have it like pristine for $90.
I want to let you finish your story, but did you see the Power Rangers trailer?
Yeah,
it looks like a legitimate decent movie.
Yeah, like I'm excited for it. I'm actually they're doing the Power Rangers correctly, which I based on the trailer.
Yeah, I mean. Anyway, yeah, you were saying.
Right. But so my friend, that's why he goes to these Comic-Cons. We went last year as well, and he wants to get stuff signed. He 2 weeks ago made sure he bought... Stan Lee was there this year, and it's going to be his last con, so it was like a very big deal. Everyone wants to get their Stan Lee stuff signed, Stan Lee pictures done. Right. So he got this Stan Lee picture, maybe it was like a Marvel comic poster or something online that he really liked, and he was going to go in and get that signed. So he waits online for 2 hours while I'm on the convention floor, because that's why I went. I'm not there to wait online to see Stan Lee. He's like, if you want, you could jump in line with me and maybe like get a glimpse of him. And I didn't really care to do that. And then he calls me and says, can you look around and see if you see any Stan Lee stuff that you can bring down for me? I'm like, don't you have something signed? And he's like, yeah, but the guys, he has handlers or whatever, says that you can't bring something else to be signed because it's not officially Marvel licensed apparel product.
Seriously?
It is. On the flip side, last year he went to see the Batman guy. I'm blanking on his name. Kevin
Ben Affleck?
No.
Christian Bale?
The original Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Not the
Adam West.
not the actual the voice. Kevin Conroy.
I don't know who that is.
The,
I just named like 15 different Batmans and none of them were the one.
He's the animated series Batman.
Got it.
Was on WB11 for a while.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
He brought his own. He brought like Batman stuff, like not just one thing, like a bunch of things, and no problem. Like it's extra $30 to sign this or whatever. So what ended up happening, he had to buy from the line he was in. They have little papers for $30 that you have to buy. Then he signed.
Oh, that's a load of shit. That's so disappointing.
And last year it was a DC, Batman. He brought extra stuff to sign, and I don't know if that's Marvel's policy versus DC's policy or Stanley's lawyer or whoever that works. But I just, as a fundamental DC versus Marvel thing, that kind of blew my mind. That DC, they didn't really care. The voice of Batman, like, you have anything else you want to sign, and Stanley was kind of the opposite.
Well, it's also the voice of Batman versus Stanley, who's the face of Marvel.
Right,
I guess.
that's also true.
But still, I mean,
Kevin Conroy's
you know what I would
pretty
love?
big name.
Yeah, obviously. I would love to have like a Batman T-shirt signed by Stan Lee.
Yeah, I mean, you'd really
Like that's way better than any like Stan Lee shit signed by Stan Lee.
I feel like you get a lot more people pissed on the line. Stanley wouldn't really give a shit. He'd just kind of sign it.
He probably doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
but
he likes
that's
comics.
hilarious. Yeah, I know.
So you know what? Actually, I was ripping on panels, but I saw a great panel that I loved because it was Kevin Smith.
What was it?
It was Comic Book Men. I don't know if you know that show of his.
I feel like I remember hearing about it or something.
It's like Pawn Stars, but for comic book stuff. So it's like Pawn Stars as if it was a comic book store.
And they sell like comics and people price them.
Yeah, the comics and people bring in like collectible stuff and like Pawn Star style. Like how much would you give me for this vintage, Star Trek pin and stuff like that. So he was there promoting the show. He was trying to get people to watch it, and it's just funny, classic Kevin Smith fashion. He just
that guy's my favorite Kevin Smith stuff is I don't know where he was even speaking, but where he tells the whole story of him trying to make a Superman movie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna put a link to it in the show notes if this part gets in the episode because it's too funny.
Yeah, it's the tarantula. That's really the best part about that. I don't know if you know. So I'm terrible with names, but the director who he was that wanted the whole tarantula, I forgot who it was or whoever the writer. It was
a producer, I think.
Right, whoever he was working with, went on to produce Wild Wild West.
Yeah. He said that in the thing.
Oh,
He sees the giant spider.
So what goes on even more is that Kevin Smith wanted the I don't know what to call it, the joke, the spider joke to live on in his name. And after Wild Wild West, he started, still referencing it and making comments to it. And when he started writing small comic books for DC, he also ended up writing Superman Lives, which was supposed to be the Superman big story. A big
Let me
movie.
guess, he put a giant spider in it.
With it never got made, and when he got picked up for the animated series, he's like, all right, I don't DC felt bad for him or whoever said we'll give you a animated show or animated Superman movie that you can direct or you can whatever, and then lo and behold, because it's animated, it's very easy to make a huge mechanical spider fight Superman, and it was literally the first minute of the movie.
That's
was
really funny.
The opening of Superman fighting a mechanical spider.
I think I saw the movie. It's that Doomsday movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it was just very funny that like he finally got to make his Death of Superman movie, and
he added the spider in. That's great. The other story that I love of Kevin Smith, I don't know if he told it in the same thing, but where he talks about when there were protests about his movie Dogma. And he showed up to the protest as a protester with a sign that said "Dogma is dog shit."
I'm pretty sure there's a link to that. Also, there's a video floating around of him. An interviewer asked him what he thought of the.
They put him on the news,
right? Something.
And they asked him, and he gave a fake name. I don't remember what it was. It might have been funny. I don't recall. and he just talks about how it's horrible, how Dogma is the worst. And then they asked him if he ever gets it that he looks like Kevin Smith. I think I don't remember the exact video. I don't want to misquote it, but. essentially, I mean, not that it fucking matters. It's like, oh, I don't want to misquote Kevin Smith's random funny thing that he did. Lest I be disbelieved on all my other things that I say.
It was really cool though. It was cool seeing him because I always see these videos, like, videos of the panel and stuff, and I could have gotten up and asked him a question, and it's not like, oh, there's a big line like there usually was. I just didn't think of a question to ask him. Like I honestly sat there and I'm like, I've seen all his movies. I love
That's
everything.
the problem.
What would I ask him? And
if you have to think of a question, you can't think of it. It just has to come to you.
yeah.
But whenever you're in one of those, you're like, oh, I want to be the guy who asks a question. And like, he's like, whoa, you're super smart. That is a great question. Why don't you come up here on the panel and talk with me? And why don't you be in all my next movies? I'm just going to run everything through you.
There's actually something interesting happened. I mean, I'm sure very similar things happen throughout these cons. I just, haven't been to much. But this guy gets up there and he starts going off really, really quickly. Hi, my name is Daniel, whatever it is, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And it's been my dream to direct movies, to work in the industry, and it's all been because of you, because of Clerks. I've seen what you were able to do with Clerks and all these movies, and I'd love, my biggest dream is to become a producer or a director, but to work for you. And Kevin Smith kind of, like, looking around, doesn't
know how to react,
do you really answer that? But he was quick on his feet. Like I said, I forgot the names. He goes to, Mike, our producer Mike, in the crowd, because you stand up. This guy stands up and like, wave to this gentleman asking the question. And he's like, gentleman here, Daniel, can you wave to Mike? Yep. Speak to him after the show. He's going to hook you up with a job on Comic Book Man.
That's
just
awesome.
Make sure that happens. And he's like, and I can't wait to meet you. And you're going to tell me, hey, remember when I asked you to work for you? And now I'm working for you. And now this is, I can't wait for that moment. And I totally forget. But when you come to me, show me this clip on YouTube or whatever it is.
What a great way to not engage that.
Exactly. He kind of like put that off to his producer and didn't. It's almost I feel like politicians when they don't. What do I answer? What I was thinking
is that he was gonna stand up, make his producer stand up, be like, "You're fired." All right, come here, like just as a joke.
Right. Yeah, that would have been funny too. He was good.
Yeah, a smart move.
Yeah, he was funny. He's also was promoting his show in the most Kevin Smith way. He was ripping on his own show that he brought up, and he was saying he's a big Walking Dead fan, and they put his show right after Walking Dead, or after there's Walking Dead then Talking Dead, then his show. He was so happy that they put it after a great show.
Talking Dead is such a fucking brilliant concept. Let's do an hour of people talking about this show that we just watched, and people watch that shit. I watched that shit.
I don't watch Walking Dead, so I can't say I've watched.
Oh
either.
Shit, you'd like that show. Do you like zombie shit?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the first season and 2, and spoilers aside, I don't know if anyone's on here who hasn't seen season 2 of the.
If you haven't seen
Amazing
season 2, you don't get to yell spoilers. It's fine.
So, spoiler alert, pause it for about a minute now, I guess, if you.
I mean, don't pause it, just fast forward.
Fast forward.
Is that little.
Or mute it.
Or mute it, yeah. I don't think that's an option. But yeah.
Basically, I just got really upset that they spent the entire season 2 looking for a girl who I knew was a zombie, and everyone in the show was like in denial. Like, as a viewer, she's a zombie, and it's kind of like, I don't know, wasting my time that people
also,
are that stupid.
That whole part of that season was probably the worst part of the entirety of the show. Says
a lot of people that try to get me to watch the show.
No, man, do your thing, whatever. I'm just saying, they had this whole long 2-part, half a season that they were just on a farm doing fucking nothing.
Yeah.
That's what you were. That was the most boring part of the season. The end of that season, because that was mid-season when they find the little girl.
Right,
the end of that season, which I will not spoil in case you ever do watch the show or anybody else is not up to that, is really good. And then after that, it starts getting good again. They have a couple of moments where it's a little bit boring again, but for the most part, after that, it's pretty good.
I've heard this girl with a sword is some amazing
fucking machine, man.
I don't know.
Not with a sword, with a katana.
Yeah, I don't even know. I just hear this girl with a sword is great.
No, man. You know who's great, and you already know the character, Daryl.
Oh, the bow and arrow guy.
Dude, that guy just every episode gets cooler.
So I was at Comicon. There's all these inside jokes that people write.
Boondock Saints.
Is that Boondock? No, that too though. But I don't watch it, but obviously, logically, I could figure out that he was close to death at a point.
Yes,
Yeah,
if I recall correctly.
There was a shirt that said, "If Daryl dies, we riot." And the picture of him with his bow and arrow.
Yeah.
In some position, I guess.
If Daryl dies, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
fucking out. I'm done. I can't handle that.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, you get attached to these characters. That's why people are very anti-Game of Thrones, which I think is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
but that's the reason.
I was just having dinner with the family, and they said that my mother and Daniel, my brother-in-law, for anybody who gives a shit. Not really exactly, actually. Cousin-in-law. Who cares? We're talking, and they're like, oh, I can't watch movies where the main character is a bad guy. And she's like, oh, I can't watch movies where the whatever. I'm like, I can, because I can differentiate between reality and play. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, not to keep bringing back Kevin Smith, even though he is amazing, one of the questions that somebody asked him was, just because he's known to be a big DC fan, is, how do you feel about Batman versus Superman? A lot of people.
What's his answer?
Yeah, so he probably spent about a half hour answering the question, but it basically, the point, which I think was golden. I'm gonna terribly paraphrase it, so hopefully there'll be a link by the time this is up. But he basically said that you gotta make a movie that is gonna appeal to the people that want to watch a movie of Batman vs Superman.
That's fair. That's true.
Not to the people that want to see a comic recreation of Superman, a comic recreation of this. He said the intro in his head was Batman, was about to crash the car and says, "Not tonight," swerves out of the way. He said he's seen that movie 25 times, and he wanted that opening, and the fact that he didn't get that, he was saying, would destroy some other fan, which probably did destroy these fans. And to him, it's a movie. He sees it as a Batman vs Superman movie. It's not the movie he was waiting for as a kid,
right? But
it is a Batman Superman movie, which he was waiting for as a kid. It sounds weird,
I hear what you're saying.
It's not the one that he envisioned in his mind, but that is the one.
Yeah, you know what upsets me about these movies? Both with Superman or Man of Steel and Batman Superman, there are comics which are so good, like actually good, that already exist of these subjects, that you don't have to copy word per word, you don't have to do frame by frame, but that are already so good that you can extrapolate and make them as close to movies as possible, or at least take that plot, and instead they borrow from comics here, comics there, and make a fucking mess, when there's such, and I mean like actual good stories.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, the ones that they do adapt almost word for word are the animated ones, is because it's the big producers that are too scared to jump in. Yeah, they're almost word for word, some of them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but I always feel like, based on how everybody talks about producers, that
they're these evil guys that never let anything get by. Don't want anyone to have fun. Always ruin the movies.
No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that they're not good at relating to the audience. They always want to do what they think is going to make most money, which means taking absolutely no risks. And they'll change the movie to what makes most money, which makes sense because that's what they're doing. They're producers.
Right, it's their business, right.
But it always fucks up the movie, I feel like.
Right.
At least, you know what...
From a viewer standpoint, to them, they made the money.
And from a director standpoint.
Right, I guess that's true. That's why you probably have
That's
a lot
why I
of
have that
issues.
feeling, because all the directors are always the one telling us those stories, or the actors.
What do you mean the story? Oh, the stories of the producers. I see.
Yeah, producers. Like, we fucking know. I've never been in the movie industry.
Right.
Maybe producers are the best one, and they're all assholes.
Right, exactly. It's whose side.
There's some asshole actor there being like, bring me caviar. And the producer's like, maybe we should change this. And we're like, fucking producers. Anyway, non sequitur. I want to talk to you about Bitcoin, as you're well aware, because I've recently become obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's
we just talked 19 minutes of Comicon.
Sweet. If you need, we can go double back and cut the episode to minisodes.
Yeah, that's funny. Minisodes. Yeah. So first, I have a fairly good idea of what Bitcoin exactly is, but would you explain for the audience members and even for myself what Bitcoin is?
To be honest, your fairly good understanding is probably better than my understanding, because the understanding I know...
Why the fuck are you here?
Because I guess the understanding that I know is more of a practical understanding. Like I kind of used Bitcoin and went through the rounds of the dog coin and all these different types of cryptocurrencies. But the actual
practical
algorithm of how the pools work and how all these different, clusters that they're called connect and really create a blockchain, which I'll explain in a second, kind of, goes past my pay grade, I guess is the easy way to say it.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I know it at a high level, they call it, where, on conceptual terms, but I can't, write it for you.
Right, of course. All right, fine. So I'll introduce what cryptocurrencies are. It's a currency that's essentially completely internet-based. Bitcoin is specifically made via an equation, the part that you will explain, because that's a little bit above my head, or I just don't know about it. Maybe I'll know by the end of tonight. If not, tune into another podcast about Bitcoin. Essentially, right now, it seems... So I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, full disclosure. This guy, Andrew Antonopoulos, definitely check it out if you're more interested in Bitcoin, but first finish this. Shit, I should have plugged that at the end. But I plugged it at the beginning, so fuck it. And he was explaining how I think he's an economist. I missed the beginning where they explained what he was. Essentially, he goes around the world giving speeches in banks and all sorts of places about Bitcoin, and I assume about other things having to do with the economy, but not world economy. And he was explaining how his usage of Bitcoin... He calls it a world currency, a currency that you can use anywhere. He connects it to a Visa card, and that's his main form of getting paid for a lot of speeches. And he was pointing out all the problems with actual money that we use now, because there's always a third person. There's always an intermediate. If I want to pay you something, I have to first go through the bank, go through the credit card company, go through Venmo, go through whomever, go through PayPal. There's always an intermediary, and they're slowly getting rid of cash. It's not like a powers that be thing, although also yes, fine, but more importantly, that's just the trend that's happening. Call it a conspiracy or not, it doesn't matter. It seems to be happening. We're more and more using credit or using debit or using nothing. Things that don't exist.
And
not that cash is any more real. But.
I think you're right with, you kind of said it without saying it, is that we're, as a Western society, I guess, getting pushed more and more away from cash. Just because of, I guess surveillance is kind of getting deep into a little different topic there, but it's all recorded. There's a receipt somewhere from
Visa, I mean, there's definitely a surveillance aspect to it. I don't think that's the only aspect, but yeah, I mean, if you use a credit card, you can trace a person just based on their credit card use.
Even at these days, big Walmarts, Target, I'm trying to think of any other places that really sell prepaid Visa cards. There's a camera in that store, and if they really, really needed to, if you were part of the F Society team, and they try to get you
time out. You're not. I'm not just letting you go. What the fuck is F Society?
F Society is a hacker team based out of Brooklyn. It's also entirely fictitious from the TV show Mr.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about it. I haven't watched in a while. That's a great show.
Yeah.
I'm not going into that.
Yeah, that's a whole
It's basically based on Anonymous, right? They're trying to parody Anonymous, but make it more intense.
Yeah. And, I mean, just a quick note of Mr. Robot that a lot of people don't know about that I think is a really, really cool aspect of the show is... On the set, most of the times where there's a police in uniform or a police activity going on, they are required to, at least in New York City, to have a actual police officer on set to make sure that the NYPD or police officer
isn't misrepresented.
Exactly. Or
that's creepy.
Not even misrepresented. I think it's more of that kind of, they will show people, like, it's a very big deal if you see, like, that's best practice for police, or that's really how police handle things.
Oh, to make sure that they're following police rules?
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, the procedural things just to make sure that you are not doing things that, aren't what they actually are. It's not only misrepresentation, it's more just, that's just not how we do things.
Right.
So what's really interesting of Mr. Robot is that they have a engineer on set to make sure that every command entered on the computer is a real command.
You know what? Thank God for that.
That is doing the real thing, that everything that they speak about is an actual possible thing that can happen in today, not some futuristic society.
But can actually be done today?
Can be done today.
That's really cool.
And I am convinced that that Vice, the HBO Vice channel, has a sub-show on their Viceland called Cyber War.
Just talking about the commands and all that stuff about...
It's just talking about cyber, how the next war is going to be a cyber attack.
Yeah.
And almost episode for episode, they speak about, like, IMSI Catcher, for example. It's a fake cell tower that intercepts cell phone signals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they had an entire Cyber War episode on it the same week. Mr. Robot used an IMSI Catcher to do something in the show. I don't want to mention. And then another episode, they used a fake wireless access point, which is what they also spoke about in Cyber War. So I'm pretty convinced Cyber War tried to line that up, or it's just total coincidence. I just think it's really cool that not only are the commands in Mr. Robot real, but the actual acts of hacking that they're doing happened and can be done in not just today's society, like today, not in.
So you're saying I should just copy whatever he's writing in that computer?
A little more complex than that, but basically.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the YouTube video of like 10 worst hacking imitations in a TV show ever.
No.
Most of them I don't remember, but this is why I think it's a great idea that they have that. The best, I mean, like, it's so bad it's just amazing. It's one lady on a keyboard fighting some other hacker.
Right.
They're both fighting, and she's like, oh no, he's winning, and this other guy comes in on the same keyboard, and they're both just taking half and half of the keyboard. What is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people kind of just, when you see people typing quickly, it's like, at least for me, it's kind of like, seems synonymous with like a piano.
Yeah.
Oh wow, he's really good. So if you have someone else come on, it's like, wow, they're doing a duet together. They must really bring their brain fingers together.
Absurd. It's so absurd.
Honestly, I love stuff like that because I'm not gonna call myself a hacker, but someone that knows his way around the computer.
Yeah.
It's great when people are ignorant because if you read if people think that like hacking is just two people typing on a computer. Great. Let them think that.
Yeah.
And leave everything open. You know?
I'm good on a computer, and I'm nowhere near your level. Nowhere.
A lot of it is just, it sounds very shady, but it's who you know, and I know nobody. It's just who you were able to kind of know for a second to teach you something on Google, or the right IRC channel, or the right forum, or the right...
Or just reading a shit ton.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to. I do some research. I'm definitely better with a computer...
Foo.
Google Foo? Oh yeah, some Google Foo. I'm definitely better than a lot of people, but I'm nowhere near.
The fact that you were able to install a Linux distro on a Windows machine is,
that's
hacker
and
enough.
It's not easy to do. And it's very easy to do, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, anyway, back to Bitcoin. So, cryptocurrency, you could use it around the world. When it started, when it started, it was worth about $0.001 per Bitcoin. Today, it's worth about $630 something per Bitcoin. It goes up and down. It's not a completely secure investment, but it is a pretty good investment at the moment, especially if you're in a third world country, like this guy was saying, where the currency is always fluctuating, like Venezuela, where I come from.
What's that place that just had like a banking crisis?
Greece.
Well,
Greece is another question. I'm not going to ask this to you because this is something that would better be asked to an economist. But this guy, Andrew Antonopoulos, was talking... I should get him on the show. I don't know if I can. Like, my show's that big.
I'll get him for you.
Thank you. Yeah, you just hack into his shit and tell him. You
hack
come or I will... Hack into his schedule. People hacking Google Calendars to get guests on their podcasts.
It's the easiest way these days.
Right? That'll become a problem. So I thought I was supposed to meet... Oh, fuck. Who is this guy? I don't remember.
I guess I just gotta get into this Uber and go where it takes me.
So, the thing is, he was talking about it being a world currency, and maybe I'm jumping into something that I shouldn't be jumping into right now, but I would be interested in how does that affect it, like in Greece, where it was part of the euro, and Germany, for example, was doing very well, but Greece wasn't doing as well. It really fucked over Greece. So if we have a world currency like Bitcoin, how would that affect... places that aren't as well off economically as the places that are better off economically, wherever that may be.
I guess it also, goes down to a more economic level, but what really is currency? Kind of a philosophical
Absolutely. It's nothing. It's what people value it at.
Right. So that's really, You mentioned before Bitcoin today is
But that's
valued.
economics, the study of nothing.
I like that.
The study of made up shit.
Of made up numbers.
Yeah. But you were saying, I'm sorry.
You mentioned one Bitcoin is about $630.
Right.
That is if you have one Bitcoin and wanted $630, you can't really go to Citibank and show them your phone.
But there are exchange sites where you can do it, no?
That's where it gets very interesting.
Oh.
There's something, I don't know if actual plug, localbitcoins.com,
All right.
where you can literally meet somebody and hand them a check, hand them cash, hand them something,
Yeah.
and they will send Bitcoin to your account. Same vice versa.
To your Bitcoin account, not your bank.
To your Bitcoin wallet.
Localbitcoin.com, not donating any money for this podcast. Although you totally should. Just saying.
It goes the flip side as well. You know, if you need cash and you want to get rid of Bitcoin, you can post on local Bitcoin and someone will meet up with you and give you cash. You know, it's like a Craigslist type of thing.
Why do it in person? Why not do it all online?
I don't trust you.
Fair enough.
Well, that goes to the next point is that how will we kind of do it online? Most people...
But exchanges do exist online, don't they?
For items, usually.
No exchange for... Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm sure they exist somewhere, but, you know, you kind of realize you put an effort to get Bitcoin sometimes. So then to just turn that back around for cash, that's only if you hold on to it and stuff
but
like
also
that.
the reverse, buying Bitcoin with cash.
Right, so that's I guess, the two... Well, let's break it one level. I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit.
All right.
That basically, you have to think that most people these days, or most people that in my circles, or most of my use of Bitcoin has been to use currency anonymously. I haven't bought any illegal substances with it, but that's what most people did buy with it. And the reason it's used this way is because of its anonymity. Now, you can't really be anonymous, like we mentioned, via credit cards, or these days, any online.
Pretty much any purchase that isn't cash. And even cash is not entirely anonymous, depending on...
Well, you know, that's... Get a little more philosophical of what is cash, what is transactions. If I Gchat you, hey, can I trade you my Spider-Man 99 for your Action Comics 500? You'll say no, but I'll give you $50 for it.
Right.
Deal. So that's
totally
a transaction.
It's a transaction that's totally
recorded,
traceable,
and totally, you know, we don't know if that happened, but it's a transaction recorded.
Right.
So with Bitcoin, that kind of never happens. Or at least the point of most cryptocurrencies is that it stays cryptic, that no one really knows
There's
origins.
no way to trace it.
As where they came from. So if you kind of purchased on eBay something from me in Bitcoin, there is a trace for that, and that's fine because we purchased it on eBay and that's how we wanted it to be done. So with things like local Bitcoin and a cash ATM Bitcoin machine, it can be a lot more anonymous. So if
even an ATM, a Bitcoin ATM is pretty anonymous.
Depends on, I guess, who is housing it.
Yeah. Just because we haven't covered this. An ATM, a Bitcoin ATM is an actual physical ATM that you can go to and pull out, I guess, cash from your Bitcoin account.
As well as depositing cash into
your
a Bitcoin wallet.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
So the way it works is that you scan, it's a QR code that you bring to the ATM machine, and you scan your QR code and you dispense cash. So the machine knows to put $40 worth of Bitcoin, which you can purchase Bitcoin in fractions of a Bitcoin, so you don't have to spend $680 on your first Bitcoin purchase. You can spend $5, which would be 0.0 whatever of a Bitcoin, so that you now have, let's call it 0.05 Bitcoin in your wallet that you, for argument's sake, did anonymously because that cash is untraceable.
Right.
Now, there are cameras in the store that you went to.
Right, but it's virtually anonymous.
Virtually anonymous. And that's where the local Bitcoins come in, because it makes it anonymous. There's no even virtual.
So what are when you trade Bitcoin with somebody, what exactly are you trading? When you meet up with a person on the street, what are they giving you? They're just scanning. You're scanning your thing, and you see on your account that it just came in.
Correct. So basically, he would be working as a. Let's say I wanted to buy Bitcoin off of you, so you would meet me, and I would show you my Bitcoin wallet. Then I would give you $50. Then on your device, you have my Bitcoin wallet just as the ATM did, and you just plus
Transfer the money.
0.05 from your wallet to mine.
And there's zero intermediaries, no waiting. It just goes straight in. That's
wallet
pretty awesome.
to wallet.
Yeah. So how does that? I mean, I assume you don't actually know the answer to that, but if there's no way to trace it, I would imagine the government really hates it because you can essentially launder money.
There's actually a pretty interesting story which I think should become a movie. Maybe we should cut this so no one thinks our idea. Read a script quickly before the podcast gets released.
Cool. It's getting released on Tuesday.
So
You have a day.
All right, give me the night and we'll get something. But basically, there was drug money, I believe, or it was some illegal money that was laundered through Bitcoin, and obviously with the amount of money that it was, I'm blanking on the numbers, but it was in some sort of millions. Even if it was 1 million.
Probably more than 1 million.
It was a good amount of money, and this was a while ago that happened.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of built up whatever the price is now is astronomical. But what basically happened is it was so encrypted.
I heard about this.
And the hard drives which had the encryption keys were not just thrown out, but destroyed because they had other sensitive documents, they had other sensitive information, and they were just destroyed, gone. And they had the key which would unlock this Bitcoin wallet, which is encrypted with, I don't know if this is the encryption he did use, but
the 20-word thing.
Yeah, or not even the 20-word. It's just an RSA encryption.
I don't know what that means.
It's I forgot the acronym, but it's just a type of encryption that basically the exponential level to how long it would take to. There's a great
it's like impossible.
Yeah, even
virtually impossible.
Yeah, I can't even. I'm not good at conceptualizing that number. There's a great video that explains that if you walked around the earth once, counted, and then did that 10 times, and blah 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 blah,
shit.
and all these crazy kind of numbers, and you wouldn't even get to a fraction of the encrypted bits.
Oh wow, okay. So nobody's breaking into this password with the level of sophistication we have today.
Exactly. And but they even say on a physical level of our universe, the way that electrons and electricity works, that you'll never be able to crack this type of encryption.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's this real kind of
I'm happy to hear that we can do that.
Yeah, that's what always kind of got me interested in the cryptocurrencies, that humans can create something that is almost undestroyable, which is pretty crazy because we created it. So there's not much.
I mean, it's undestroyable so long as the internet still exists. Which...
Well, no, it's an actual key. It's an actual, series of letters and numbers in a...
I see.
So it could be written down on a
so
piece
somebody
of paper.
stole it. They have the password, but everything...
It's not even stolen. It's
It's in a Bitcoin wallet. Stole
correct.
it, I guess. They hacked... What did they do?
No, it was almost... Let's say you have $50.
Oh, it was actual money that they then put into Bitcoin form.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, go on.
And then basically they put a key on it and lost the key. And that key is the encrypted RSA crazy...
Oh, they lost their own key?
Well, not lost it. They threw away the hard drives which had the key. Yeah. So there's a gold, a treasure chest, like a pirate chest out there. You just have to crack it or...
Wait, so you're telling me that... Do people know...
Yeah, it's a known thing on the internet.
Like you can find it and try and crack it?
Probably not for just privacy reasons. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did put up the thing and said put a reward to crack it. But it's if you just know anything about, not that I know anything, but from what I read, if somebody that knows what they're doing wouldn't even attempt it because they just know that type of encryption is physically on a atom material. I don't know how to say it. Level.
It's physically impossible to crack. That is so fucking crazy.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of this Bitcoin is built off of. That, like, you know, the FBI can't ask Apple to hand over Bitcoin keys,
right?
You know, like, that's not the way.
It's just not gonna happen,
right? Which you know.
Well, that's another thing, that you're not dealing with not only not a third person for payments, but you're not dealing with a bank. You can hold your own money in a fairly secure way. Can people?
The most secure way that I can think of, if you really ask me. I mean, I don't know how Swiss bank accounts.
I guess nobody can even hack into your personal account. I mean, unless you do it shittily.
Right.
If you do it right.
Correct. I mean,
which is problematic because there's a lot of people who aren't good with computers. If you're about to tell me that you stole money from people, don't tell me. Not on the podcast.
It's not that. It's how ironic my own phone and my own day kind of has been.
What are you showing me? It says iPhone is disabled, connect to iTunes.
Which basically essentially means my phone is erased right now.
How?
I guessed my password wrong 10 times. Or
oh,
15
no,
times.
so it erased all your shit? I hope your Bitcoin key wasn't in here.
It's actually really interesting. Well,
this feels good in
that's
the hand.
why I mentioned it. This is the new... I plug the new iPhone 7 Plus.
Yeah, you can plug whatever the fuck you want. Nobody's paying me shit.
I'm joking. That's why even give them the plug if we're not going to get the payment. But
iPhone, you fucking owe me.
But, yeah, it's just ironic that the same thing that happened in a large sense with a Bitcoin wallet kind of, happened to me in my own phone. You should
talk to the FBI. They know how to crack that shit.
Yeah, that's what I made a joke with my friend today.
So
he said, bring it to the Apple store. I was like, yeah, because they're not going to do it for the FBI, but they'll do it for me.
It is your phone.
Right, it's very different.
They don't know how to do it.
They will do it for me if it is my phone.
I thought they don't know how to break the encryption.
But if they will basically let me erase it and use it
again,
because
but you already erased it. After 10 it's erased, or is it just bricked?
It's bricked, basically. It's very interesting because I have an Apple Watch which is synced via Bluetooth, so that's how I was able to call you today. My Apple Watch. That's why it took a while to answer you, because I had no access to my phone.
Oh, that sucks.
And I had to wait till my Bluetooth watch automatically pairs.
Okay, so here's the question: why'd you guess your password wrong 10 times? Is that really your phone?
Yes, this is my phone. New iPhone 7 Plus by Apple.
What the fuck? Who's paying you, Michael? And why am I not getting some of this?
I got this for free, actually.
What? Oh, you always do shit like
I mean, I did get it for free by doing that shit. Not actually free, though.
Yeah. You sold things to buy it.
Right. I sold the old phone, which they're getting rid of, which I could make a whole other spiel about right now and get angry about. But before I do, let me just finish on the iPhone, which was interesting, just the way that they lock people out. Is I've been using the new iPhone's Touch IDs much quicker than the old iPhones. And for those of you that don't have an iPhone, Touch ID is where you can unlock it with your fingerprint. Now the Touch ID is part of unlocking your phone. There's no swipe to unlock. You press your phone on the Touch ID and it automatically unlocks. So I virtually never had a swipe to unlock my phone and never had to type in my passcode.
Oh, okay.
So when they first asked me for the passcode, I just kind of made they give you a grid of numbers, and I just made a weird 9, 8, some diagonal design.
Yeah, go ahead and tell everyone your password.
I don't know. So, yeah, I kind of thought I knew it so the reason I had to type in the passcode is because I had to restart my phone today for, I don't even remember what reason, it just froze or something. Had to restart it for security reasons. After you hard restart your phone, you need to type in the passcode. I don't know why. It could have been you chopped off the guy's finger and had to turn it off. Whatever the reason, you actually have to type in the passcode. I knew that, and I kind of didn't realize I didn't know my password until I spent the whole day. They tease you because it's like, no, try again in a minute. All right, a minute passed. I'll try again. Nope. Try again in 5 minutes. Then it's 10 minutes. Then it's 15. Then it's 1 hour. Then it's 2 hours, or I think another hour, and then it's disabled.
Oh,
now,
that's painful.
If you have on your phone the option to erase after a certain amount of misattempts, it erases it totally. But if you don't have that checked off, it puts it into disabled mode, where it's still functional. If you call me, I can answer. I can make calls through my Apple Watch, but I cannot make calls through the phone.
I guess that's a little bit better.
What's interesting, though, is that the only way to undisable the phone or enable the phone...
Better word.
...is to erase it.
Right.
So there's no real difference between the two options, I guess.
Right.
Unless
Well, you can do data recovery.
No.
If you just erase it, unless you, like, completely... Usually you can recover shit. No? If you just regular erase with a recovery program. I don't know.
Not really. I mean,
I
not
don't know
that
what the
I
fuck
know
I'm
of with
talking
the
about.
with the iPhone.
With the iPhone specifically.
With hard drives on computers and stuff like that.
I've done
it's
it
a
on my
different
computer
story.
before,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different because this has flash memory. That has I don't even think it has to do with the type of memory. I think it just has to do with how that memory is stored. On a hard drive, there's caching and different things that are done, and I'm sure there's caching on the iPhone, but not to the extent of an entire desktop.
I hear you.
But I just, it's, back to why I brought this up.
Yeah.
If this is why I brought this up, I just find it's really interesting that, it's not Apple's fault here. It's not because I'm an Apple fanboy.
It's never Apple's fault with you.
It's not Apple's fault here, and same with the cryptocurrency of the guy who threw out his hard drives. That was at no fault of the engineers.
No, that's entirely his fault. That's what you want to happen.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, is that it's the user error here. I made the error of not knowing my own damn passcode.
Right,
he made the error of throwing the hard drive.
You want that, because if you can find a way to go around it, then anybody can find a way to go around it.
Exactly. I remember back
especially with your money.
That's the biggest fear. I think it's the most ironic thing with cryptocurrency. People's fear is that if it's a wallet, if it's virtual, it can be hacked. But it's so secure that it can't be. So it's like this.
You're more likely to fuck yourself over than it is to be.
Right. Well, not even. I don't think that's people's biggest fear. I'm saying people's fear is that
that somebody will hack into.
Exactly.
But it's not really a fair fear. But again, you have to do it correctly. No, if you don't do it correctly, then it becomes a lot easier.
There are, people that have gotten their wallets hacked, and that's not because the crypto, I guess you could say, part of it was weak. It's because the user's password was his dog's name and the number 1. Like something like that.
How many people do I know who have that password? I'm just like, can you please change that? I mean, I don't have unbelievable passwords. You could please don't try and break into my shit. Okay, you'll just succeed. All right, it's not even a test. Never challenge people.
Good thing you have a pet.
Never challenge people to hack into your shit. That's how you get your shit hacked.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you have it stored in whatever way. If you do no, so how do you get a society of people who say, at best, half of which, at worst, I guess, I don't know, at best, half of which don't know how to use a computer to that extent, how to encrypt to that extent, to get on Bitcoin without being hacked and fucked over?
Sadly, the only way I can think of it is that a middleman needs to step in and make it dumbly easy to use.
Yeah, the problem with that is that now you have the middleman back.
Essentially a bank.
You have a bank.
Right.
And the bank also gives you the once you have a bank, you have, not my words, this is also coming from this Antonopoulos guy. I don't even know why I do this podcast.
You just put links to other podcasts.
Yeah. He was saying that in a bank, even if the bank isn't trying to screw you over, which we've seen many times they do, most recently Wells Fargo, fucking people over by opening accounts in their names.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the bank itself, there are thousands, if not more, probably thousands, if not millions of employees for these banks. And all it takes is one guy who has the access. I mean, talk about Edward Snowden.
You should watch season 2 of Mr. Robot.
Yeah, I should finish season 1 of Mr. Robot.
That too.
Okay, so exactly. All it takes is one dude who has the access to fuck people over. And it doesn't have to fuck everybody over. He could just be fucking you and 5 other people over. So if you're going to have a Bitcoin, if you're going to have a cryptocurrency that has an intermediary bank, first of all, it's no longer cryptocurrency because now it's
the bank's currency.
The bank's currency, and they can trace it, and you no longer have the privacy aspect. So what it sounds like to me is that the only way you can really properly get into this cryptocurrency and protect yourself is if you're particularly good with computers.
Yes and no. There's levels to properly secure yourself.
Right.
built into the Bitcoin itself. The cryptocurrency is already loads and loads of privacy. That you don't really have to do much for it. Like if you literally right now go to localbitcoins.com, you can get it up and running in 5 minutes. Get a wallet, trade with somebody. It's hard for me to say it's simple because I've done it and I'm somewhat good with computers. That I see it as simple, and then when I try to show it to my grandma, she's she doesn't know what's going on.
Not a fair example.
Right. Well, that's the extreme example.
Right.
To me, it's the simplest thing. And when sometimes I'm with my friend, I'm like, just click there. Like, oh, there. What's there? I'm like, the big green button or the big red button?
Yeah, I know people like that. Where and to no fault of their own, that's just their level of understanding.
Of being on the computer.
For whatever reason, you and me, you especially, were, I think, born with or grown up with a certain level of understanding just by being on it and playing around with it, a certain level of understanding that people who don't spend as much time on a computer as you and me maybe have, or especially you again, they just don't have that. I don't even, it's hard for me to grasp what they don't understand because it seems so simple.
Exactly.
It's like just play around until you fucking figure it out.
Exactly. That's what kind of I think it's a frustration level. I'm not gonna say I'm Mr. Chill, but people just get frustrated very easily. So
I'll say I'm Mr. Chill. I'm Mr. Chill. Yeah.
But people get frustrated too easily, and Louis C.K. said it best.
Give it a minute. It has to go to space.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it a minute. It has to go to space.
Right. That like people.
I think that was on Conan or something.
Yeah, it was a long. It was before he was even big. I think it was like that's what people knew Louis C.K. as for a while.
Maybe yeah.
But like that's what people. Not only take for granted, I even take for granted everything technology does, but the fact that if it doesn't happen in an instant, there's a reason. It might not be your fault reason. It could be a network issue. It could be just the packet took an extra second, and that can frustrate people to a level where I'm done. Just do it for me. I'll pay you $5 to do it for me. I will pay you to just not be frustrated right now.
Yeah.
And then that just leads.
It might also be a personality thing. Like I hate things being done for me. Not on computers, in general. I don't like things being done to me. I love making things, doing things myself, making things myself. So when you told me about Linux, and it was after our last episode, I put Linux on my computer, and I'm in love with it. I fucked that computer up 10 times to, like, I've reloaded Linux on it like 3 times now.
Right.
But not because there was anything wrong with Linux. I was just fucking with it and breaking it.
Right. But that's how you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best way to do it. And that's what I think is a perfect example because, A, there are people that would be too scared to do anything for fear of breaking it. There are people that won't do anything because they know they're going to break it. And there are people that don't do anything because they know they're going to break it and have to reinstall it. And it's a bitch to do that, so it's not even worth it.
I reinstalled Linux 3 times yesterday on my computer.
But that's what I'm saying.
And Windows once.
just to put it in there.
No, because I wanted to put on Windows so I could play a game.
Right.
So I wanted to partition the drive. I'm not going to get into this on the episode. We'll talk about this later.
Right. But just it's a level of you get fear, anxiety, hate of the stupid machines that are going to destroy us.
I mean, also when you're spending thousands of dollars on a machine, it becomes scary to mess with an OS.
That's also true, which is why I love OS X, because it's kind of like people say you can't get a virus on it. You can't get a virus on it.
Of course you can get a virus on it.
But very, very hard to get a virus, and very, very hard
Is it hard to get a virus because they're closed about their software?
Correct. So they won't let any software through that has any kind of malicious code. So any code that is malicious.
So if I want to make a
downloaded on some shady website that you also had to right click and open and click the dialog box that says this might have malicious.
I see, makes sense.
So Apple kind of makes it. I don't want to call it dumb because I'm not calling the people that can't figure out.
No, there's dumb. I mean, you use Mac and you're not a dumb dude. I mean, you're now describing exactly
Right. So it's just. Windows is confusing. Even if you know Windows well, it is more confusing than Mac. And some Windows people will be out there and be like, no, it's so much easier. You can download this widget. You can get this thing. You can. And
but people don't even know how to do that.
Well, that's what I think is a great comparison. I read once that An Apple car is like an Apple.
An Apple car. Oh,
No, a Apple.
Michael knows something we don't know.
A Apple computer is like a supercar. It's got everything in it. You don't touch it. It's got all the specs that you wanted. Blah blah blah. And a Windows machine is.
Can I change? Can I change it to instead of supercar, make it an automatic versus a stick shift? Well, maybe that's not a good analogy.
That's right. That's not
because
the best analogy.
Linux is a stick shift.
Exactly. That is a much better analogy. Linux to Windows is like automatic.
Okay, I got it.
Stick
Okay,
shift.
so Apple is like a Tesla car, like a supercar, like that. It has everything already inbuilt. It drives itself.
Correct. And
Windows is a normal automatic car. Linux is a stick shift. Nailed it.
Yeah, that makes sense. The analogy I was just trying to get at is that the Windows car is, let's just call it an American muscle car that you could also put a turbocharger in. You can also put a supercharger.
Right, you can
do all these things, and then it will be up to par with the Tesla. It might even be better than the Tesla. It's more custom than the Tesla, and it's more your car than the Tesla. The Tesla, you buy it, that's the model, done.
Done, right.
You get the Apple, the 15-inch, 13-inch, that's it.
This is in no way meant to insult Tesla. I've never actually been in a Tesla car, so this is just my guess, all right?
And honestly, it's just very interesting because some people will see that totally as not an insult to Tesla, but as a praise to Tesla. That, wow, I know I'm getting the same product every time. I can refer it to a friend.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something positive to be.
And
I mean, that's almost the scientific method. Something you can repeat, and it works every time the same way.
So just to mix it all in, cars and Apple and Steve Jobs, he
wasn't part of the conversation, but let's bring him in.
They're bringing him for this type of reason that I wish I knew the model of car because it's a nice Mercedes car. He used to buy the same exact car every single month from the dealership and return or trade back his old car. Obviously, he had some sort of deal with the dealership. It's not a usual thing. You can't go to the dealership.
Most people don't have Steve Jobs kind of money.
And so that's the thing. He paid a good penny to basically get a brand new white modeled
like
whatever
the same
type
car
of car
every month
because this might not be the only reason, but he liked the car clean from the manufacturer, and there's a law in California that you do not have to put a license plate on your car within 30 days of the purchase.
I was about to shit on him for getting a car every month, but that's fucking brilliant.
So yeah, he literally wanted the car untouched. Like, that shows, I think, his mind, and it really shows in the products of Apple, I think. And like we even made that analogy to the Tesla car, is where I think it even extends to there, where he literally told himself that the manufacturer made the car the best way they know how to make the car. So who is the user to say, I want to add this, I want to put this, I want to put this? Don't get me wrong, there are cars, computers, Lego that are made that way, that you are supposed to make it yours and customize it, but that's just a mindset that some people have, that Steve Jobs had, that he didn't even want to ruin the metal of the bumper by screwing a license plate into it, that he wanted it so pristine and exactly the way that the designer or the manufacturer wanted.
That's interesting. That changes the way I see Steve Jobs a lot.
Yeah.
Not in a positive or negative way, just like
the type of person
there's a personality thing there.
Right. Yeah, that has nothing to do with, he's not getting to work faster because the aerodynamics on the car is better without a license plate. That's just, he needed the car that way. It might not even be a visual thing,
I'm tempted to say OCD, but that's not really what OCD is.
Right.
And any psychologist would get pissed at me for saying that. Because it's clearly not OCD. The colloquial.
Right.
How OCD is used, neurotic is a better word.
I guess,
but neurotic is not good enough.
Right.
It's not good enough. There's something. I mean, if he wasn't as rich as he was, what he's doing is pathological.
Right.
But because he has the money he has, it's not interesting.
Right.
Money makes you less pathological.
Money makes you sane.
That's a whole interesting concept I never thought about. money, not that money makes you sane, but because you have money, something
Right.
insane could be considered sane.
Right. Like spending
fuck.
$500 on quail eggs.
Well, I think we got into the philosophy part of shit. Well, since we're here already, and like we do in most episodes where we decide to talk about something, we don't talk about that. We can do more. The idea, this is maybe not the right time to do this, but whatever. The idea that having a ton of money essentially excludes you from, not excludes you, but exempts you in a way from the law. As we've seen many and many times again, so long as you're part of a huge corporation that has a ton of money, you essentially don't get punished for anything negative you do, while people are being punished for the same crime on a much, much smaller level. And now you're bringing the idea that possibly also having sufficient money makes something that would be considered pathological, like mentally pathological, no longer pathological because you can afford it. Which is interesting. I have this whole theory that... Yeah, go ahead.
I think not that you're reading too much into it. I just think that you're reading a little bit too much into the act in a sense, because it's more of how it's perceived in the mind of the pathology.
That went a bit over my head. Who's the pathology?
Who Steve Jobs, let's say.
Okay.
That, in his mind, it's not like I'm spending this amount of money to make my car clean from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
It's I want my car clean.
No, I get his intention. I guess what I'm saying is if he was spending money that he didn't have, then it'd be something that'd be hindering his normal living behavior.
Right.
But also if he didn't have the money, he might not be doing that.
Exactly.
I guess it isn't pathological at all.
Right. I think that's where also I don't know the definition of pathological, if it's, hindering whatever the actual, textbook definition.
I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. I think in OCD specifically when, I'm sorry to all the psychologists, psychiatrists, and other therapists. I believe it's when you do something obsessively that hinders normal living.
Right.
Meaning,
that's what I
meaning, for example, the classic, like, I need to wash my hands all the time, but it's not just I need to wash my hands all the time, it's I need to wash my hands all the time and my skin's peeling off.
Right.
Or I need to wash my hands all the time so I never leave the house.
Right.
Things that affect you from living a quote-unquote normal life.
Right. Which
would be pathological. While if you're just like, well, I need to wash my hands all the time, I'm a germy, but your hands are fine and you shake people's hands and you have fun and you go out and then you just wash your hands afterwards, then that's not considered pathological.
Right.
In the case of OCD specifically, and my girlfriend's a psychologist, I'm going to get yelled at if I got this wrong.
This is almost like a test right now to make sure you can do, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Have you been listening to her?
Oh, is that what you think pathological means? I see. All right, goodbye. But yeah, I have this whole theory about, it's not really a theory, it's true. How what I was talking about, like people get off when they have a lot of money, and people, it's not just about the people getting off. It started with that because I see all these people who, not jerk off, get off from being punished. They go and they do these things where they screw people, millions of people over, as these large banks have done. I mean, that's what caused the financial crash and stuff like that. And nobody gets punished. And then we all get pissed that they did it, and we all scream, and I agree. They're shitty people. But at the same time, I sort of don't blame them. Not because they're total assholes, don't get me wrong. I don't like it. I don't like that idea at all. But all the carrots and sticks of this society are pointing toward make money whatever way you can. What do you consider a successful person as a society? Somebody who has a lot of money. Not anything else. If you have a lot of money, I don't care if you're being paid to jerk off all day. As long as you're making a shit ton of money doing that, you're considered a successful person. Right? So if everything is pointing to make money, and people fuck around and make money, well, you almost can't blame them. Then especially when they don't get punished for doing it in a shady way. If you made enough money, you're not going to get punished. And obviously that doesn't apply to everybody. But it seems to apply to people who have, like, not just a lot of money, a shit ton of money. Then, of course they're going to keep on doing it. I think put in that position, I would like to think that I wouldn't. But who knows? Maybe everybody would.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of I was making the joke before, like, spending $500 on quail eggs. Like, you don't know that you like the $500 quail eggs until you spend $500 on a quail egg and you realize, like, wow, I can't have any other quail egg again. I need these $500 quail eggs. And if that $500 every week for your Sunday breakfast to have a quail egg that you enjoy and you look forward to, in some small way inside of you, $500 is nothing. And the fact that what you want is at such a high price, the people that have that amount of money, they don't even look at the price of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with having a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people who have a lot of money and do a lot of good. I'm not shitting on having money.
Yeah, don't get me wrong either. Having money is great as someone who doesn't have it. But
donate to the show. A ton of money, please.
I think it's
quail
I think it's just interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we're quoting an episode of Always Sunny, where Frank says that America is built on two types of people: the doopies and the dupers. And today you find out what kind of person you are.
It's so true, though.
And that's what is kind of sad, to quote More TV, which me and my friends always do, I guess, is that a power move is really most of the time, or a lot of the time, you can interchange it with like a dick move.
Yeah, totally.
You need to prove power over someone, over something. So, like, in the person's view for who you are powering over, it's like, wow, what a power move. But the people under who got powered on, it's kind of like, wow, he just steamrolled us. What a dick.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of those moments are built off of money.
It's entirely built off of money. It's going to be either money or power. But usually in the society, it's money. I think there have been societies, I think in Rome, for example, money was a way of achieving power, while over here, power is a way of achieving money.
Right.
So I think the end goal in Western society, or at least in the United States, which I can speak for because I'm here, especially in New York, I think New York is probably the worst of it. New York also has a lot of it. I'm not saying New York in general is the worst. I'm saying in that aspect, it's all about getting that money. That's the ultimate goal.
The grind, never a city that never sleeps. And
yeah.
I mean, it's true, like what you mentioned before. That's what we've been teaching our kids since first grade. You go, you get the job, you get the money.
It's all about money. And I mean, the thing is, there are other ways to be. We have this idea that, yeah, money kind of sucks, but it's the only way. And that I don't think is true. I mean, with the society as big as we have, it might be very hard to do otherwise. But there have been societies that lived without money.
I mean, I think it's actually really interesting because to just bring it back for a little bit, the Kim.com, the creator of Mega Upload, got shut down. Mega Upload got shut down for a while, and he was, I don't know if extradited is the right word.
Extradited would mean being taken from a place where he was, being brought back to the United States from another place.
Okay, so
or extradited to whatever country.
I think he went. Don't quote me here, but I think he basically had to go to New Zealand so he wouldn't be in an American jail.
Right. So he didn't get extradited. Extradited, or maybe they tried to extradite him, meaning say he was in, I don't know, Russia, like Edward Snowden is in Russia. They would like to extradite him, but Russia doesn't have an extradition policy with the United States, so they won't give him to us.
Right. So I think it's
I think he should fucking hero that dude. I think he should get a pass on everything, but when I say us, I mean the U.S. government. I am not associated with the U.S. government.
Or am I?
I'm not.
But yeah, I think that's the reason why cryptocurrency is really gonna explode, is because this Kim.com guy, who America hates, you can say, wants to reopen his mega platform, he's calling it, to combat YouTube, to combat Twitch, to combat streaming, to combat eBay. And he doesn't mean like take them on, bid for bid to try to, take eBay's place as #1 bidding site, but he wants it all to be built off of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, so that the American government, no government can come inside and peep on what you're doing, or
so here's the only problem I see with that. Why would I or anybody else jump on Mega Video, let's call it that, why would I jump on Mega Video to watch a video for them that I'm going to pay 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin, whatever it is, say 100th of a cent or per minute or something like that? What? Oh,
Advertisements.
Oh, it's advertisements. So what's the Bitcoin part of it?
Is the content. If you make, like, you would put your podcast up on Mega Podcast,
Yeah.
and if you get advertisements, you get some Bitcoin.
Oh, I get paid in Bitcoin as opposed to being paid in cash.
Correct.
Or whatever money.
Or however YouTube, sends you a check every.
So, okay. Because we ran over time and we barely talked about Bitcoin, which is fine because I had a good time. Just tell me real quick, how do I start? I want to start off on Bitcoin. I actually do. I'm actually going to put a donation for Bitcoin. You can donate to me via Bitcoin on my website. That's not set up yet. Hopefully it'll be set up either by the time I release this episode or right after. How do I set up a Bitcoin account? How do I get started with Bitcoin?
What do you like to use Bitcoin for? I know it's a weird question, but it's a loaded question because you can go to blockchain.com or blockchain.io, I believe, open up a wallet as Saul Ackerman, type in your credit card, and just straight up charge your credit card $50, and you will have 0.085 Bitcoin in your blockchain wallet.
So once I have that, say remove the credit card part of it. Say I make a Saul Ackerman Bitcoin account, and I use that Saul Ackerman Bitcoin account for everything, right?
Correct.
Just because my name is on it, is now everything I do traceable?
No.
Oh, okay. It's still untraceable.
Still untraceable, but if there were any
But if I was doing
suspicious-
something shady, then
Correct.
then yeah, it'd be easier to find me.
Correct.
Right.
If there was a warrant and they gave it to blockchain and said, who is this account, blockchain would hand it right over.
Right. So, for argument's sake, I want to open an account under the name of Saul Ackerman. Not for argument's sake. I'm really doing that. I'm not doing anything shady.
You would go to blockchain.io.
Yeah.
There are probably other ones. I don't know if you can try and plug any of them.
I mean, I don't care. I want somebody who's into this and myself to be able to open a Bitcoin account.
Definitely blockchain. It's the most easiest, straightforward way. There's an app for Android, iOS, and there's a website.
Yeah.
Basic fill in your information, and then that's it. They give you your QR code, I believe, and you can email it to yourself. They also give you a long string that you can send to people. That's your wallet's number in a sense, and you can pay with it or you can receive payment. Similar to how I mentioned before, if you want to receive, you just kind of have to show your wallet to somebody and they can add it.
And next step, how do I encrypt it?
It's built in. The
whole encryption thing is built in. So I just have to. So basically, what happens is people leave it open because they don't feel like going through the whole encryption process.
No, this is where I guess it gets a little not confusing, but just there's two paths. Is why I asked you what you would like to use your Bitcoin for.
Right.
The encryption keys that I mentioned and a lot of that type of stuff is, at least from my knowledge, generally done in the, I guess we'll call it the shady route, where you don't want people to know your name and stuff like that, so you need to encrypt it because anybody can just grab it if it's not encrypted.
Oh, because it's not associated with my name.
Exactly. It's not even that it's not associated with your name. There's no proof that you own it besides that you know the password. So if someone can crack the password, that's just proof that I own it.
Right.
So that's where, you need a lot more security in the shady side because it's almost like the wild. There's no government to protect you.
Can I have my name associated with it and still do all that encryption?
Yes, you can do
just
your name.
Not necessary.
Exactly. Like there literally is no. When the encryption asks you for a string, most people put their email just to identify that. How the encryption works. I'm sorry, is you type in a string and then it encrypts that string. Right. So you could leave the string blank and it just makes some random encryption. There's actually a great it's called a key generator, where it asks you to move your mouse in random parts of the screen, and that's how it uses its random generation parts. But you can do an empty string, which is nothing, or you put your email, and no one will even see that email. It's just a kind of arbitrary way to get a encrypted bits of numbers and letters. So that's all your wallet really is a encrypted bit of letters and numbers. So if somebody gets that encrypted bit of letters and numbers, they have your wallet. They can take out of it. They can put into it.
Right.
Which is also very important. There's a public QR code and a private QR code. So
the private is your access to the account, and the public is people could give you money,
correct.
or
you send
them money with the public one.
Correct.
Private one you keep to yourself.
Correct.
And I understand you could also even store Bitcoin offline.
Correct. That is how, me personally, I've preferred to store my Bitcoin, just because of, I don't know, not that I don't trust the internet, I don't trust this to go down, but it just can't be hacked if it's offline and physically on something, which I think is really cool.
And it's still passworded.
Correct.
Offline, so it's not like somebody could just steal a USB or something.
Correct. It's actually really interesting. It is running the Tails OS.
The one that you spoke about in the last podcast. I think you spoke about it in the last podcast.
I believe so.
Yeah, where it doesn't remember anything.
Correct. And there's an option where it's basically only remember one thing, and that is that the login has a password, which is really interesting. And then on top of that, it remembers two things. This one folder, which has my private Bitcoin QR code / string, and a text file containing the passphrase to unlock my blockchain wallet if I ever do forget
right.
Which is, I think, 12 words or 10 words.
I thought it was 20 words, but yeah,
so
whatever.
It could be. I think it's a minimum of 10 or 12.
Oh,
so
I see.
they let you go up to as many as you want. I think that's a safe way because I'm not going to tell you where that USB key is, but it's in a very safe spot, in my opinion.
Right.
And at that point...
It's under your pillow, isn't it?
It's actually between my mattress and...
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Nobody would ever think to check there.
It's actually, really interesting because, it turns that cryptocurrency that people are always so scared a hacker will steal, and you can turn it into a physical piece of paper even. You can transfer your Bitcoin to a Bitcoin wallet and then just write down the string on a piece of paper and then, shut down the computer that you did create it. That's why the amnesia operating system is what they call it, where it'll forget, because you could create a blockchain. You could create not even a blockchain, the anonymous Bitcoin wallet, and then
are you saying that the stuff is generated on Tails, or that you use Tails to generate your own?
I don't think I understand the difference.
Meaning, okay, well, I guess this goes to a deeper question. Who invented Bitcoin, and how is it not managed? It's not managed by anybody, right? Or it's it must be managed, but it's not.
The creation of Bitcoin is managed in a sense because of how it is created is based on computing power.
Right, it's a mathematical equation, right?
Correct.
And there's a limit to how many Bitcoin will exist.
That I think there's a limit to how much Bitcoin can exist at a certain time. I don't think.
Oh, I see.
There is. I could be wrong about that.
I think Matthew had mentioned to me that there is an upper limit to how many Bitcoin can be created, and they're thinking about doubling the limit.
Oh, interesting.
We should have had him here because he has the other side of the...
Right, he can definitely help with a lot more of the
He wasn't around.
details.
It would have been interesting to have both of you here.
Yeah, but he is not what I was about to say. But that's why I think it's also very interesting is that, like I mentioned, people are scared of hacking and people are scared of all these things, but if you're really scared of that, then take the time to look into how to protect yourself from that. You can't say, "Oh, I'm scared a hacker's gonna hack me." Well, then your password shouldn't be password 1. Like
Baby Town Frolics, in the words of Sterling Archer.
Yeah. If it's break-inable, then
good word.
Right. If it's malleable, I don't know. If it's
break-inable works. Everybody understands what you meant.
If it's vulnerable, then you can assume somebody will try to break into it, even if nobody actually tries, but you have to make that assumption because if somebody does, they're almost in. If you have a vulnerable system, it's tough to think about because a lot of people are like, why would they ever attack me? Or what? Fine, let them look at whatever porn I look at. That's everyone's first answer. Oh, I don't care what they see, what I see, and
it's
stuff like that.
That's a whole other can of worms that I don't think we're gonna do in this episode. But I would be super happy to have you back for another episode. I think you're my resident techie.
Great. Any other topic, I'll definitely.
For sure. I mean, we always talk about really interesting shit off the podcast. And then on the podcast too. So let's end it here. There was something else I was going to say before we end it, but fuck it. Goodbye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. Same things as always. Please use our Amazon link. It really helps out the podcast. It doesn't cost you anything when you buy your stuff on Amazon. Just go through our donation page, or you can go through the episode notes. Go through our links, buy whatever you want. Again, it doesn't cost you a thing. It really helps us out. Also, if you're buying any books that were mentioned on the podcast, they'll all be on the episode notes. And if you go through that link, again, it won't cost you anything, but will help us out even more than just random things that you buy. Other than that, check us out at The Generalist PC on Twitter. Rate us on iTunes. That'd be cool. Check us out at The Generalist Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. You can email us at thegeneralistpodcast@gmail.com. And coming real soon, hopefully before this episode's out, but if not, soon after, you can now donate to us via Bitcoin. We will have that all set up as soon as possible. We appreciate that too. That'd be cool. And hopefully you'll be able to do Bitcoin at the end of the episode we discuss. I'm not going to tell you what we discussed at the end of the episode because if you're here, you already heard it, so never mind. Enjoy next episode in 2 Tuesdays from now, meaning not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. I will update on the website what it will be as soon as I know what it will be. Thank you.
If you like the show, show us the chicks. You did? No, if you like the show, give us $1 million.
He's out of material.